Hey everybody, welcome to our webinar. We have our 2025 Databook product webinar. We're going to go over the roadmap. We're going to talk all about new exciting features. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Matt from the marketing team, and I'm going to introduce you quickly to Ivan, our CTO. Ivan, you're on mute, so you're going to want to unmute that button. There we go. Hey Ivan, why don't you introduce yourself to the group and bring us right into it?
Hey, Matt, thank you. Welcome, everyone. I know we have a large audience. We have a number of familiar faces and familiar names. I wanted to say welcome to the many customers that we have on the call, and thank you for being loyal customers. We also have a number of visitors, and I wanted to welcome you to Databook. My name is Ivan Galia. I'm in charge of R&D. I lead AI, product, and engineering. Really excited to showcase our roadmap over the coming hour. Matt?
All right, so we're going to go into our first slide as we kick things off. And I think the main thing we want to just mention on the heels of what Ivan just said is our number one core value as a company is driving customer value. I mean, I feel really fortunate. I know Ivan feels really fortunate. We get to talk to customers all the time. It's by far the best part of the job to be able to tailor our product and the experience for customers, but also with customers. We have so much feedback that we collect, and I'm really proud of all the progress that we've made by sharing that with our leadership team and moving the product forward. So thank you for all the feedback. And during this call, we want reactions. We want comments. Tell us what you're thinking. Tell us how you're feeling. And Ivan, why don't you just tell us quickly about the agenda, what we're going to cover today in detail?
Absolutely. We're going to talk a little bit about what we're hearing from many of you, both in terms of the market challenges that we continue to face as an industry, and as well as some of the feedback and input and demands, the questions that we get from our customers and how that has influenced our product roadmap. I'm going to spend the majority of the time going through actual demos. We had the last webinar like this one was in August last year. We were just about to launch Databook AI. We've come a very long way since then, and we're very excited to share both what we have launched as well as what is coming up over the coming weeks and months. Okay, so just to level set, B2B selling is hard, and it's been getting harder. And I don't think this will surprise any of this audience. The overall go-to-market productivity has, if anything, became more challenging over the last several years. And you see the trend of overall go-to-market productivity. There's been increasing pressures on people and processes and technology to figure out ways to improve the productivity. We hear this from customers all the time. There's been a lot of experiments in AI, especially the last 2-3 years. And the initial batch of experiments, there's been a lot of AI trying to inject it into the current processes. And the overall results that we continue to hear about is that while there's been some improvement, but it hasn't resulted in the overall productivity gain that was desired. And what we wanted to talk about is the need to change the process itself. And we're fortunate, we're actually privileged to be working with some of the most elite, sophisticated sales organizations globally. And we're constantly having conversations. In this slide, I wanted to synthesize what are the key takeaways that we continue to hear. First of all, despite all the technology and all the AI, the fundamentals haven't changed. Trustworthy, quality data is still the cornerstone. When an account executive is going to meet with a customer, they still have to address the eternal questions that haven't really changed since ever. Why do you need to change? Why do you need to make this investment? Why is now the right time? And then why us? That the fundamentals haven't changed. What has changed, on the other hand, are the 3 other items that I'm going to go through. Before Databook, I used to work with, I had one of my teams working very closely with go-to-market teams, with sales leaders. And at the time, one of the main pain points that we continuously faced within sales and marketing were this data islands, 1P data islands that we continue to hear from customers that these problems still exist. And integrating data islands used to be a massive pain point. And this reality might still exist in your organization. What we hear from the very best sales organizations is that the insights, not only from integrating 1P data, but by joining 1P and 3P data, are now a need, not a luxury. Turning every individual additional data source into an edge is a must-have. Next thing is, on average, a typical seller spends the majority of their time into hunting for information, into preparing for the next customer meeting. Salesforce did a survey several years ago where they found that on average, 71% of a typical seller is spent preparing for a meeting with customer. On top of this, over time, we've had more applications, both for sellers and for sales management. And now there is even a term to describe this called swivel chair effect, that you're constantly going from an application to an application, hunting for relevant information to prepare. What we hear from the best-selling organizations is that no longer it's considered okay. Having relevant, timely insight and actions brought to where the sellers work is a must-have. Lastly, the level of customization and personalization for both management and sellers is crucial. The idea of having one size fits all doesn't generate the value. And since we launched Databook AI, we've been constantly getting input and asks and requests from customers around how can you help me customize the output? How can you help me give me more powerful levers so that we can customize these tools for my organizations? On the seller side, there is a lot of demand for time to value. Make it as simple as possible, get the job done so that the seller can go and talk, interface, engage, build relationships with customers. From the management side, having more control in order to customize to their organization's need. So what we're bringing over the remaining of the time is, when we're getting all this feedback, how do we bring it all together to bring this vision to life? Now, before I do that, I acknowledge that we have a number of visitors for the call that might not be as familiar with Databook. I wanted to pause for 10 seconds, providing a little bit about what is Databook. Databook powers productivity for some of the most elite go-to-market teams. This is what we do. We've been in business for 8 years. We're really lucky to have some amazing customers. We've included some logos here, and we're privileged when we talk with customers and they tell us about the impact that we're having. We've included some quotes from some of our most loyal customers. And again, I want to thank every single customer on the call. Like, we exist only because of you. Okay.
We actually have a question from Shintan. Is Databook platform built around SDR, BDR workflows or AE/management workflows? When is the best time to engage with the platform? Why don't we just kick off with that question before we move on?
Sure. Historically, we've been primarily focused for account planning, like the earlier cycles of a sales, of the whole sales cycle. Over the last several years, we've been broadening what we provide to cover every single aspect of a sales cycle. Now, in general, we work primarily with sellers and with sales management. We have a number of customers where we're interacting directly with SDRs, with BDRs. We also engage quite strongly with enablement teams and with sales operations teams. So the direction where we're going is to cover across the whole sales cycle. And in order, like it takes a whole village within sales to sell, especially when you're selling with at the enterprise level, very complex. And so we engage with multiple sales teams to provide that.
Thank you for that question. If anybody has more, add them along the way. Back to you, Ivan.
So a lot of what I'm talking about is covered under these terms of agentic workflows. I'm not going to be talking about the technology per se about it, but I wanted to highlight a few things. First of all, what is an agent? You hear about it all the time right now. There's a lot of excitement in the industry. An agent is essentially a system that autonomously executes tasks and makes certain decisions, or it interacts with other data or with other systems. And agentic workflow is more of a structured AI-driven process. Now, all of that is relevant and it's helpful. However, the principle that we're talking about is very simple. The principle, going back to what we said in the previous slide, the majority of a seller's time today is preparing to have conversations with customers. Nobody go into sales wanting to just prepare to meet with customers. The essence of sales is to engage with customers, to engage with prospects, build relationships. In a lot of ways, I view this technology about how it can help sales become more human-centric. There's a lot of terminology about it, but that's the essence, and that's the core principle that behind Databook. How do we make the sales teams about engaging, providing value to customers?
Ivan, I'm going to just quickly drop in another question before we move on. This is from Matt Kelly. What is the degree of confidence in Databook's results using Databook AI? Can we assume that the results are good to great on accuracy? Great question, Matt. Thank you.
Fantastic question. So I can tell you what do we do about ensuring that the accuracy is very high. There are a lot of LLMs and chatbots available. And one of the main problem in generic LLMs is that you're not certain if the data that you're getting has been sourced from relevant, trusted sources, or perhaps picked up from some social media of somebody that maybe like you're not able to trust. How do we do that trust? We do a number of different elements, and this is ongoing. This is part of the essence, the DNA of Databook. From the very beginning, we've focused on enterprise-grade data, 3P data, and then over time, as we'll see in a few slides, we've also now expanded, because this is what customers have asked us, to generate insights from a combination of 1P and 3P. But starting with third-party data, and then with Databook AI in particular, and we'll see it in the demos. I'll highlight it in the demos, but since I wanted to address it here, the first thing is that every single insight that we're providing is cited. And you can go back to the source. The citation can be anything from a regulatory filing, or it can be a presentation that a C-suite member provided to an analyst or provided to the press. Citations are really, really critical. Second thing is that we have constant spot checks for the questions and the responses. And some of our customers ask us for this, and we share it directly with them. Having a constant verification that we can be quantified, that not only we're sharing accurate answer, but also that the answer is capturing the context for what the question is about. So I'm more than happy to have separate conversations around how do we ensure that we confirm the accuracy on a consistent basis.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ivan.
So going back to the primary presentation here, so we talked briefly about agentic AI platform. We look at it as these 4 concentric circles. And what I'm going to go through now is go one by one. I'll provide a high-level overview of what this is about, And then we'll go through a series of demos to see what we're doing, what we have launched, and also what we have in place for the coming months. So the center of everything that we do, it's around having core intelligence that is enterprise grade and that can be trusted. And what does this mean? It means that from the very beginning, Databook has been around having a series of proprietary and licensed data sets that any of the customers, any of you that use Databook on a daily basis already know. Over time, there's been ongoing demand, especially over the past year, from customers to tell us, all that information around customers and prospects are amazing. We also have a number of our data sets, and the data sets can be the CRM, it can be any product marketing material, it can be success stories, and so on and so forth. Can you generate insights by integrating the first party with third party data? And then finally, how do we create reasoning from this combination of the insights? So let's talk a little bit about what we've launched. They are represented by green buttons on the right-hand side, and then what we have in place. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to switch over to Databook AI, and we're going to go through a series of questions highlighting the advanced reasoning that we have, highlighting advanced expanded coverage, and then how do we connect first-party and third-party data. Databook AI, you're familiar with it. I went through a series of question and answer. And so let's start with a very basic assumption. We have an account executive, and they got their account list and they want some help to prioritize it. So I picked up a few European accounts. You notice that one of these accounts is a private company, Klarna. And so Databook AI goes one by one and provide an overall score, and then talks about the good and the bad from the context of me as a seller at Databook. And I'm going to look at Klarna. I'm looking at SAP, and it's actually the good aspects is that there is a good match with the financial case for change for SAP. The management is prioritizing investments in areas where Databook offers solutions. Investor sentiment is bullish with a total shareholder return of 39% over the last 12 months. And the timing for a new opportunity is favorable, with key decision period starting in a few months. Okay, so let's suppose I want to go a little bit deeper into SAP. So I'm going to create a point of view on SAP. So we're going deeper into it. And now we're assessing multiple data sources that we have available. That includes the strategic priorities for this account. We're going to take a quick look at financial performance, some overall context, what is happening in the context that SAP operates, and then we're bringing it home. What are the use cases for Databook at SAP? And the solution positioning one catches my attention. Databook enables SAP to map its solutions to customer priorities, driving urgency and increasing deal sizes. Okay, so there's a few more information, but I want to dig a little bit deeper into solution positioning. So first, I want to create a contact strategy. And so it repeats some context on this use case, and then here's the target buying groups. And your organization tags indicate interest in the sales buying group and the marketing buying group, and I have the contacts. And I'm gonna look at this with a view of the use case that I want to focus on. And there is this particular executive, the global head of product and customer marketing, that I think might be best relevant for this particular use case. And so I'm going to ask for a veto letter for this individual, Kelsey Joan. Veto stands for very important top officer. and we've structured a response that typically is capturing information that are relevant for C-suite. Now, everything that I'm going through within this flow is customizable. So a number of customers have asked us, when I write a veto letter, I want this particular structure. And that's very simple. And so a lot of the responses that you get from the, like when you open Databook AI, are highly relevant. However, for a given organization, maybe working with a specific sales methodology, they might have specific needs. Everything that I'm sharing here can be customizable both at the organizational level, and soon, and we'll talk about the admin console in a few slides, it could be also customizable to the at the team level, or even at the if you have a team of one, at the individual level. So there is full customization from the perspective of the seller. What you want is that when they have a question, they have a need, we want time to value. And from the sales management perspective, you want to have that level of customization and personalization. Now, let me open a new conversation here, and I'm going to click on the prompt library. These are some of the default prompts that come out of the gate. A number of customers, in fact, the majority of customers, they've asked us to customize the prompts and categorize the prompts based on the sales cycle, based on their needs of the their organization. Like when I want my team to be at this specific phase of the sales cycle, I want them to focus on these type of questions. And that's very easy. That's part of the customization that we do. I'm going to go back to another area of investment. One of the requests that we got over the last few months is the need to cover private companies, but also to cover smaller, to expand the coverage. So in the previous example, Klarna is a private company. We've had coverage for Klarna for a long time. Mistral is a startup. It's a very successful small startup based in France, and we've expanded both the breadth and the scope for the type of queries that you can have. And you can see in this case, like what are the strategic priorities for Mistral, and you have a relevant answer. And also there is a synthesis. I mentioned about advanced reasoning. There is a synthesis about what the account is focused on and how it's relevant to you as an organization. And so in this case, there are two key priorities that closely align with potential use cases. Finally, I want to share about 1P and 3P. So first, I'm going to open a new conversation. So if you've noticed, we've added the ability to add files. So I can click here, I can download a particular file, and then I can ask a question. I went through this already. So I edit a deck that one of our sellers created for this particular bank. And I wanted to inquire, are there any themes, key themes for this customer that are currently missing? And also, how can this deck be more relevant and addresses the main key pain points for BNP Paribas, as a French bank? And now Databook AI is looking at the material. The material could be a PowerPoint, like in this case. It can be a PDF. It can be multiple. We cover around 7 different formats right now. It looks at the material, then it connects it with our third-party data. So this is what I was referring as first-party and third-party. It looks into the key pain points, and it provides a recommendation. So these are some of the themes that are missing in the deck. And then at the end, it provides me a recommendation. What do I need to add to help make the deck more relevant for this customer? Okay, let's go back to the presentation. One thing that I wanted to highlight before we move into the agent builder is that one thing that we're investing and we hope to launch in the coming weeks is the ability not only to upload content within a conversation that's already live, but also we have a number of customers that we're doing a design partnership right now. They want to upload other type of content, for example, product marketing material or success stories or any other content that is relevant that covers across the whole organization. And so once we connect it with our third-party data, any member of that organization can ask questions of that content. And so, for example, if you want to upload success stories, every time that you ask a question where success stories are relevant in the response, they would be customized for that organization. So that's coming up within the next few weeks. Okay, the next circle is the agent builder. So we're going to go through a number of examples. The first example that I'm going to go through is the admin console. To a large extent, we look at us, we need to serve two types of personas. We have the sellers, and there are multiple seller teams, and we also have management teams. And both of them have different needs. One of the requests that we've been getting over time is I want to have the ability to improve my understanding of what my organization is going through and help me coach them better. And that's one area that we're investing in. This is something that we're going to launch by the end of April. We're going to have user management that is self-serve. I know a number of our customers that are present here are already using this functionality. The next functionality is around analytics. And within analytics, we want to start helping customers not only get visibility into what their team is, how their team is leveraging Databook, but also how their team can better get value from Databook. So one area that is always top of mind is white space opportunities. We're now starting to highlight accounts where when you compare it with third-party data, there are larger opportunities that are not currently covered within the teams. This required a CRM integration. We've been doing a number of design partnerships with customers, very successful, we hear great feedback, and it's also changes the value that Databook provides, not only from providing really relevant insight, but also can help you identify areas that maybe you're leaving money on the table because the account executive is focused on a particular use case, and there might be 3 other use cases that are relevant but are not included currently. Okay, so let me share a overview of the admin console, and I'm gonna share the screen. Thank you, Sarah. And so there are 2 types of features that we're launching. The first one is membership. So if you click on the users tab, you'll notice that for a given organization, you can start having self-serve usage membership capability that so far you had to work with our CS team. And in addition to that, we're introducing the notion of teams. And so a user can be part of 1 or more teams. Over time, we want to add more capabilities at the teams level. So for example, like a few slides ago, you saw that you have the ability to customize a prompt or a series of prompts or a workflow. The notion of teams become very helpful because like now that we have the idea of teams, you can, as we add more capabilities, those capabilities can be personalized to a team or teams level. So that's within membership. That's already live. We've opened it up to a number of customers. It's going to be GA by the end of April. The second element is analytics, and that's what I was referring to a moment ago, where we're highlighting not only how your team is leveraging Databook, but in addition to that, how you can get more value by looking at third-party data in combination with first-party data. The example of white space would be in that category. Okay, so going back to what's coming next. If we go back to the previous screen, so we have a number of really exciting launches that are coming down the pipe. The first one is auto grading. So we've talked about, there was a question about quality. We want to start sharing more information about the questions and responses and how do we auto grade it. This is not just a question of creating more visibility into the enterprise grade quality that we provide. Of course, that is one, but we want to go beyond that. A big part of the investment that we're making is how can we help managers and the sales management team better provide them with the tools to better coach their team. And auto grading and helping them request better, ask different type of questions, go deeper is one area that we're focused on. The second area that we're very excited about, and it's an area where we have a lot of activity right now within the engineering and the product team, is the idea of building a prompt editor and a flow composer. So we're going to start with the ability to self-serve customize prompts. So when a number of organizations that have requested that I want my team to have these type of prompts, and I want the prompt response to be organized and structured in a particular way. Right now, we do the work, we partner with the customer, they provide us with the requirements, and then we do it on their behalf. What we want to do next, and this will come around before the summer in Q2, is to create a self-serve means. So you have the ability to edit and to also create new prompts and connect them with a specific team if you desire to do so. The next step is a flow composer, and this is essentially building agents that are relevant to your organization and will hand guide you in how you get started. But over time, this becomes really powerful when you're leveraging our platform and building things directly on our platform. Okay, so let's get to the next area. The next area is workflows. So at the beginning, we talked about agentic workflows. This is built on our advanced reasoning. There is an extensive library of workflows that we've been investing and empowering, and we'll go through a few examples. And then there is also the level of customization. So I am going to go back to Databook AI, and we'll go through an example. And all of what I'm going through is live. So if you have Databook AI in front of you, you can go through with me as I go through this. So you notice that we looked at prompts before, and now we're looking at workflows. These are customizable at the organization level. Let me take a look at all the library of workflows that I have here. So a workflow is a simple way to go through a series of actions and get an output. You can have multiple steps. For example, I want to have the first meeting deck for a meeting with the CRO or the CFO at a particular organization. Now, if I'm an account executive, all I want is to provide the information of who am I meeting, what's the persona, and what is the account. And I'm going to get the deck customized for me. And so to do that, right now, I click here. I can set up a particular account. In this case, the way that it was set up for me by my sales team, that we don't have a differentiation by persona, but that's easily customizable. I click run the workflow, and then when I go here in workflows, I will notice that it's been created and it would be available for me in short order. Typically, it takes around 1 minute to 2 minutes. Now, let's take a look at how some customers are using these set of tools. So the first example is a first meeting deck that our friends at Anaplan are using, and I want to give a special thanks to an attendee here, Mary Alice Colvin. With her permission, Anaplan created this first meeting deck. So when an account executive at Anaplan is meeting with a prospect or with a customer, they designed this structure. And so an account executive can go through the flow, click, and get a presentation. Now, I want to make an obvious point, perhaps, but I want to make it very clear. This doesn't make the job of the account executive easy. They still have a lot of work. They need to understand that customer, they need to develop the relationship, and so on. What we're doing is that a task that in the past would take hours, sometimes even days, of pulling data from multiple places, now it's within a minute. You can provide a talking track within the notes, and they have to still understand the needs of that customer, but they can jump to going through the research versus they have to hunt for information. So, Mary Alice, I know you're on the call. Thank you for sharing this with us. The second example is I wanted to showcase how we dog food our own products. So in this case, before our sellers meet with a new prospect, we've created a deck that is tailored to them. And a number of content is like branding. Those are static slides that you're all familiar because we've had this functionality of static slides that are connected to the data for a number of years. Over the past 6 months, we've also connected the input, the content, with Databook AI. This slide is one example. So when I selected this account, this is a deck for Dell. It's including content and it's summarizing what is relevant for Dell. The content on the slide was created in real time when an account executive selected the deck. There is a call to Databook AI, similar to what we went through a few minutes ago, and then it's capturing the essence, what are the key themes that the account executive should highlight. Again, this is not to automate the job of the account executive. This is to make it easier for them. They don't have to hunt for information. The information is provided to them. They have to digest it, understand it, figure out how to engage with the customer. What we're doing here is, from the perspective of the seller, the objective is time to value. And time to value is measured by increasing the time where they are engaging, having material engagements, meaningful engagements with customers. From the perspective of sales management, full customization about what should the first presentation deck look like, what are the key themes, what are the content. And the content can be static slides like branding, it can be dynamic slides, it can be access to any data that we have, which could be first party or third party. Okay, so that's what we have already available. What's coming up? What's coming up, and something that I'm really...
Hold on, Ivan, just want to quickly make sure before we move on. I know you covered a lot of this question from Tom. It's a very thoughtful question. We wanted to wait till you kind of got through the workflow section to answer it. He says, ChatGPT deep research can provide very similar results, especially when it comes to recommendations and positioning. So how is your platform different? And I know you've touched on a lot of that. It'd be great to just kind of summarize and recap after all those great demos.
Yeah, great question. There are two key distinctions and differentiation. The first one is where I wanted to center everything in my presentation is data. Yesterday, I was talking with a longtime customer, and they went through the past year or so. They went through an exercise where they selected an LLM, and they encouraged sellers to use the LLM in any of their activity. And what they found out, which is not totally surprising, is that they had very little control of the accuracy of the data. The lack of integration with first party and with third party, it was crucial. And that's the center of everything that we're doing. Not only that you can trust the results, not only that you have everything that with citations, but also that you can start connecting it, having the 1P and 3P connection. The third one is a lot of the answers tended to be quite generic. They might be okay answers for certain conversations, but if you're meeting with a senior executive, you want to make sure that not only you have trusted data at your fingertips, but it's also relevant for them. Having a generic response might not be sufficient in many cases. Great question.
Yeah, thanks for asking that, Tom. And of course, Ivan's door, our door, always open for additional follow-ups for further clarity. So keep those questions coming. Back to you, Ivan, for the next step.
One area that we're really excited, I'm in particular very excited about this. We're testing it internally first. We want to remove the kinks from the process as we build it. And we look forward to engage with a number of design partners later in May, is something that we're calling Databook Coach. And the idea here is that we're connecting all this richness of information, of content with first party, in this case with the CRM and with the Google Calendar. Before every customer meeting, we send a note to that particular account executive with the key highlights for that conversation. What happened if it's a recurring or an ongoing conversation? What happened the last call? What are the key takeaways? And then if you're having a meeting with new individuals, who are they? What are the key points that you might want to highlight? And also, what are the milestones that you want to achieve in that meeting? The idea of coaching account executives and again bringing relevant insight and information at the point of where they are working, it's really critical. The other element that we're also very excited about is the idea of having a closed loop automation, that as you interact with the tool gets to know you a little bit more. And so the information, the insights, the actions that they are providing you are personalized to your needs. And then I mentioned this briefly before, the workflow builder or flow composer is something that we're going to launch before the summer. Okay, so lastly, let's talk a little bit about surfaces. So I highlighted one of the key principles, the key feedback that we keep hearing from our customers, the idea that sellers and sales management have to go to too many applications. And as a product principle, everything that we do, we've made a decision over 6 months ago to be surface agnostic. What that means is that if your sales team want to engage with Databook and Databook AI, they're more than happy. We're delighted for them. At the same time, if they want to engage with Databook and Databook AI in Slack, because that's where they spend the majority of their time, or in Teams, as an example, because that's where they spend the majority of their time, the whole experience and the overall offering that we provide is the same. And so I wanted to share an example of that, and let me figure out how I can share my screen. Bear with me one moment. Okay, Sarah, I think I need some help. You might want to like stop sharing something.
Trying to get to a web browser, Ivan?
I'm trying to get to a web browser, yeah. Okay, I'm not able to do that. I'm gonna talk through it, given that we don't have a ton of time, and I want to like keep some time for Q&A. So we're testing out two new surfaces. One is Slack and one is Teams. We're using them every day internally. Most of our sellers live in one of these two collaborative surfaces. All the capabilities, including creating, downloading workflows, downloading assets. Another thing that we have on offer is notifications. All of those capabilities would be available on the surface of your choice. We have right now two customers that are design partners with us, one for Teams and one for Slack. If you're interested to be part of the early beta, reach out and we'll be more than happy to work directly with you. And Sarah, back to the presentation.
Big shout out to Sarah on behind the scenes. Can't do it without you, Sarah. Thank you.
Okay, so let's do a bit of a recap on what we have. So over the last 6 months or so, we've expanded the number of Gen AI assets. Like this is one of the most popular features that we've had. The first presentation deck is an example of that. We have launched a conversational API and we've launched a batch API. Coming up in late May, early June will be Slack and Teams. So Databook app within Slack and Teams having the same level of experience within those two surfaces. And then right after that, we'll also in early development partnering with Microsoft on integration with Copilot. And a little bit further out, later this year, investment in Gemini and investment in the enterprise ChatGPT that I know a number of customers are already leveraging. Okay, so moving on, I wanted to bring all of this innovation together. And I'm gonna use two examples and then a demo. And the two examples is a day in the life of an AE with Databook, and then a day in the life of a sales manager with Databook. So let's go through that. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek into where we're going to be as Databook over the next 3 months or so. So let's start with a day in the life of an AE with Databook. From the very beginning, instead of the AE having to hunt for information, there is a proactive guide that is providing what has happened for their top 5 accounts so far in the week. And then it just happens that one of the accounts that they have updated their strategic priorities. Now, this doesn't happen very often. However, when it happens, it is very critical because it might have direct relation with the use case that they are trying to sell. And we have the ability to update an account plan. And so suddenly the AE doesn't have to go and hunt and try to figure out, okay, what does this mean? All they have to do is to understand and provide context for the changes and then figure out what they need to do with respect to that account. The next step is there is a meeting coming up, and the AE need to have a presentation ready for that conversation. The Databook AI provided that deck, and the AE, again, doesn't have to spend hours collecting information, but have to go through it and make any tweaks within the context that they have. Next, there is the champion at one of the accounts that they cover that sent an email asking for an updated business plan. That's very easy to do. We've gone through it in Databook AI already earlier in this presentation. And then finally, a little bit of a prep for the next day. There is a meeting tomorrow, and there is a presentation that's customized for them. Take a quick look, make any changes, and you're ready to have to engage with that customer. Now, let's take a look at a day in the life of a sales leader. Now, again, the focus here is more consistency, more control, and the ability to provide better coaching to the team. So you start the day with a quick summary of what has happened for your accounts, and then we're going through any accounts that had changes, material changes, either priorities have shifted or where sellers made any updates to the account plan. And then we're going through a strategy call, and the agenda and the changes for that particular call, it's already done. We're focused on white space opportunities. Are you sure that you're not leaving money on the table? Here's areas that you might want to work with your team to focus on. And then finally, there are a number of customer conversations tomorrow. How can we best prep you? Okay, so there is the angle of the seller. A lot of the focus is time to value. There is the angle of the sales manager. The focus is make sure that you're on top of everything. Make sure that things that today takes a lot of time, a lot of drudgery, it's being done on your behalf, and make sure that we'll help you coach your team better and identify the right opportunities. Now, what we're going to share next, we're going to do a quick 3-minute video of putting all this together. This is a sneak peek of what we have in place for the coming weeks and few months. So, Sarah, if you don't mind sharing the video next.
Hope everybody brought popcorn for this.
How Databook accelerates deals and transforms GTM productivity by surfacing insights where and when sellers need them. It's the start of the week for Eloise and AE, and she receives her weekly Databook sales coach briefing in Slack. Databook analyses first and third-party data to provide a comprehensive view of the deals that Eloise is working on. By integrating Databook's account intelligence with what's happening with the opportunity, Databook can surface relevant insights and recommendations. Eloise chooses to get coaching about her opportunity at AT&T. Databook's analysis shows that Eloise has positioned this opportunity well to align with AT&T's pain and executive priorities. Drawing on notes from previous meetings and an understanding of the activities associated with this opportunity stage, Databook recommends how to progress the deal. Eloise accepts the recommendation to draft an email that Eloise's champion can forward to secure an executive alignment meeting. Within seconds, Databook drafts a concise, professional email. With the email sent, Eloise is one step closer to securing an executive sponsor for the opportunity. Returning to Slack, Eloise reviews insights for another priority opportunity. This opportunity is at an earlier stage, and Eloise needs to prepare for a first meeting. Databook is aware of the desired outcomes from a first meeting and provides targeted guidance about how best to prepare. Eloise opts for a fully automated first call deck, which includes the latest insights about General Mills. The deck is delivered to where Eloise is working, helping her stay focused and productive. Databook leverages agentic workflows to generate client-facing presentations like this one. These workflows use advanced reasoning to determine the case for change at the target account and identify the solutions, use cases, and customer stories that are most relevant. With Databook agentic workflows easily available from Slack, sellers can save hours of research and presentation building time each week. Later in the week, Eloise receives another message from Databook. It's an alert about an important development at Starbucks, which could pose a risk for a late-stage opportunity she is working on. Databook highlights the implications for her deal of a new CFO arriving at Starbucks and presents her with actions to mitigate this risk. Eloise asks Databook for a contact strategy so she can build more consensus with decision makers at Starbucks. Databook recommends executives to engage and provides their contact details. Frank, a sales manager, is also starting his week and receives a weekly team focus briefing from Databook. It highlights important developments across the opportunities his team are working on. It also suggests areas to focus on with the team this week. By orchestrating first and third-party insights, Databook provides sales managers with a holistic view so they can support AEs to unblock stalled deals. Later in the week, Frank is due to meet one of the AEs in his team. An hour beforehand, Databook sends some personalized insights to help Frank coach the AE to keep their deals progressing. For example, ahead of an upcoming executive alignment meeting with CVS Health, Databook can identify potential weaknesses in the narrative with advice for the manager and AE on how to address these. Through its seamless orchestration of first and third-party data, Databook can surface relevant insights when your team needs them, accelerating opportunities, strengthening forecasts, and unblocking stalled deals.
Okay, thanks, Sarah, for sharing that. Hopefully, you have a better understanding of some of the capabilities that we've developed over the last few months, and also where we're heading in terms of a product roadmap. Where we started with is that a lot of this technology helps make sales more human-centric, and hopefully you have a sense, especially from the video, of how we're investing in areas not to automate the seller, but to help make them more productive and help reduce a lot of that preparation, provide them with right relevant content that is at enterprise grade, that can be trusted, and help them spend more time interacting and engaging with prospects and with customers. We're really excited about this roadmap and would love to continue the engagement with all of you. We have a couple minutes. Matt, any questions and also next steps?
Yeah, just a shout out to Tim Horton. Thanks for saying the presentation was impressive. Big shout out. Fan of you, Tim. We have this preceded question that I'd love for you just to pick your brain, Ivan, and answer. Which upcoming feature or enhancement do you think will have the biggest impact on enterprise sales teams, and why?
The example of the sales coach and the video, although it highlighted things that we already have live, the way that it threads them together, I'm really excited. And in fact, yesterday we had a conversation with a sales leader, one of our longtime customers. And as we were sharing the vision, his first reaction is like, when can I get it? Like, I want this now. Like, I spent so much time working with my team. Most of the time, I don't know exactly what they're working on, or it's a lot of drudgery. And I want to be able to have this level of support. I want to have this capability where I know that there is more of a guide and I have relevant information when I need it. So I'm really excited. We're very close. And hopefully you have at least a sneak peek about this future, which is not far away from us.
Absolutely. And to continue that conversation, of course, we want to send out a survey at the end of this. So we'll be sending an email out with follow-up. Again, that feedback goes directly to our leadership team, makes its way into the product. Ivan can attest to that. I enjoy so much, I know Ivan, you do too, talking to customers, getting feedback and making enhancements. So our door is always open. You can hit us up on LinkedIn, as well as our events page for future events. We'll be having some webinars coming your way soon, so be on the lookout for those. And we also had a great question from Matt Kelly. He asked, how can I get involved with beta, right? Like, what are some features I'll be able to test? So Kathy on our research team, she hosts a research panel. I put the link into the chat there, and we'll have that in the email as well. So we're always open to feedback. Keep it coming. We embrace it. Any parting words, Ivan, as we close out?
No, I wanted to thank everyone. I know, time is really precious. Spending an hour with us it's really our privilege. So thank you for attending. Special thanks for all the customers on the call. We only exist here to help and to serve you. And please keep the conversation, keep the feedback. If you'd like to participate in some of the design partnerships that we have, reach out.
Yeah, shout out to Gary. Thank you for complimenting the roadmap as well. So we appreciate you, Gary. Sarah, I think you're going to play a little jingle as we head out. And again, just thank you so much for everybody. We appreciate your time, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.